might be going to your dealership. Take a good look.
I learned many years back that the things to do to sell an automobile work. I've always found, okay, fine, the first thing you have to do is prospect. The second thing, once you get that prospect in, you do have to qualify. In qualifying, you have to have control. They're not going to come right out and tell you, yes, we want a four-door sedan, Hornet, white and everything else, okay? So you have to get this out of them. And in order to do so, you naturally have to ask questions.
During the qualification of a customer, I determine what his desire is, what his need is. I try to determine the urgency. Is this man a buyer today? Is he a buyer tomorrow? I determine a lot during the qualification that's going to help me throughout the sale.
Qualifying. It's determining your prospect's automotive desires and needs. It's determining the timing of his purchase. Is he going to buy today or tomorrow? Or not until next week? And finally, it's determining the acceptance of the price and payments.
Qualifying is finding out if a person's going to buy a car, when they're going to buy a car, what kind of car they want, if they can buy it.
Here's what an American Motors salesman said about qualifying this prospect.
Well, this man and his family, I think they came in a Pinto, I believe, a 1970 Pinto. And they were looking for something with a little more room. The kids are getting bigger. Now, if they were just looking and didn't have anything special in mind, I would show them the Hornets Sportabout. Anyway, this family was interested in a wagon. That Pinto was a wagon. So, in the Sportabout, I showed them the advantages of the four doors, the roominess, the all-vinyl interior. The father was thinking about a vacation, and traveling with a family, this Sportabout was the right car.
Other recognized AMC sales professionals, most of them Sales Honor Guild members, have specific recommendations when it comes to qualifying.
I try to determine what is going to be the smoothest and quickest way to make a sale. And in reality, the best thing for the customer, because really, we're the professionals. We're supposed to be able to determine what this man's needs are and what is his best buy. People don't always buy exactly what they come in here to buy. And by qualifying your people, you can save yourself a lot of wrong steps. As far as everybody having their own techniques in doing it, everybody develops their own way of qualifying, but the same questions have to be asked and answered in each case.
You've got to get the customer to talk, and the only way that you're going to get him to talk is by asking questions, and that's qualifying. Get the customer to talk. Ask a question and wait for an answer.
The first question I ask them is, what is your name, sir? The second question is what type of a car they're interested in. The third question I ask them is, do they have a trade-in? And the fourth question I ask them is, are you ready to buy an automobile now?
You have to ask different types of questions to loosen them up. And the way I do it is I try to make them feel more at home, because you have to realize this man is at your dealership. He's not in his living room. You know, he's a little bit tense about spending $3,000 or $4,000. So I take the friendly attitude where I show him the car, make sure that he wants to buy it.
Just looking at the customer and expressions on his face and tone of his voice. And believe me, the biggest thing, if he is interested and if he does believe you, he'll ask you questions. And if a customer's asking you questions, that means that he's taking interest in the product.
Well, listening is important because he'll give you clues as to whether or not he wants to buy or whether he's in a position to buy today.
In the very beginning of the sales pitch, it's your go, you have the floor, and you should sell the automobile. Then you should keep your mouth shut and let the customers say the word. Because whenever they start talking, you're going to be listening for things that they could say that would possibly make you close a deal right now on the spot.
Qualifying is asking questions and listening for answers. It's a good investment on your part because by qualifying, you help yourself. You save yourself valuable selling time by moving forward toward a sale along the most direct path.
During the qualification, you learn everything you're going to need to know to make a sale to your advantage.
I just keep asking questions, keep asking questions. I keep people saying yes and yes and yes. And do you plan to buy a car today? Yes. And you keep getting today in their mind and saving money in their mind, and it just breaks right down, and in a few minutes you have a deal.
I probably say in general, most people are here to buy a car. Even if the guy says, geez, I'd like to buy this car, but I've only been working 2 months, and I don't know if I can afford this car.
Through qualifying your prospect, you have determined if there's any significant sales resistance, and you then know how to answer the objection and close the sale.
When you ask for an order and the customer says no, there are 4 reasons that you have to quickly go over. Have you sold them on yourself? And the second is location. People do want to buy from a dealer in town. We've got the product, okay? The product is damned important, then the price.
I don't try to sell the people the most expensive car that they can buy. I try to show them something that they really like.
By properly qualifying, you also help your prospect by selling him the car that most nearly suits his particular needs and desires. Qualifying is actually becoming well enough acquainted with the prospect to be able to understand his needs. All the salesmen agree that qualifying means getting to know your prospect, his family, his job, his hobbies, his needs. It's also keeping him comfortable, being friendly, conducting business in a professional manner, having him on your side because you're sincerely interested. It's asking questions that will show you how best to sell him, what selling advantages to use, how best to satisfy his requirements for a car. And it's listening to what he says, not just to be polite, but to learn as much about him as you can, as quickly as you can, to sell him the right AMC product. And salesmen say some of the most important questions to have answered are these. Is he a buyer today or tomorrow? How much is he expecting to spend? What kind of car does he want or need? What optional equipment does he want? What size payments will he accept? Salesmen agree that qualifying is a continuous process. It really doesn't end until the order is signed. Which brings up one thing you should never forget about qualifying, and that is, qualifying is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. It's the way to sell most efficiently, most successfully. But all the selling in the world is fruitless unless you ask for the order.
Salesmen sometimes, in analyzing or figuring out their customers, sometimes forget. They go through the whole program of selling the guarantee and the warranties and this and that and the product, and they forget to ask for the order.
Don't forget. Ask for the order. A negative response might tell you where you missed in qualifying. It certainly will tell you what you need to do next to close the sale.
I think the more time you spend with the customer, the more money you're gonna make. And that's why I give 100% job the first time, every time. Because if you don't sell them, they're gonna walk out the door and somewhere they're gonna meet a salesman and they're gonna buy a car within 48 hours.
Qualify every one of your prospects thoroughly. Find out what kind of car your prospect is interested in, what kind of car he will trade. You also want to touch on his personal background, where he works, his family situation, subjects that help you interpret the prospect's automotive needs. But the final important area is the timing of his purchase. Is he ready to buy a car today? Qualify thoroughly, then ask for the order.